Hi friends, my name is Usman, and in today's video tutorial we are going to look at Python and start doing some work in Python from very beginning. And let's start with the hello world program in Python. First of all, let's create a project directory. You can create it as Python or with any name as you want. So, and the IDE I'm going to use for Python is pycharm. I'm using a community version of pycharm, which is free, and you can easily download it and use it. So I'm going to create a new file and I'll name it as hello world.py and save it. So let's just start with hello world. Print hello world and save it. Now if you go to the command line, you can see we have a file called hello world.py. So let's just run it. So python hello world.py. You can see we have printed out hello world on the console, and from pycharm, if you want to run the program from pycharm, from within the pycharm, you can just go to the run menu and run scratch, and you can see we have got the same result in a separate tab running the program. Python is totally object oriented and not statically typed. You do not need to declare variables before using them or declare their type. Every variable in Python is an object. In this tutorial, we will go over few basic type of variables in Python. Let's start with numbers. Python supports two type of numbers, integers and floating point numbers. It also supports complex numbers, but it won't be discussed in this tutorial. Let's create a new file for exploring number variables. A Python file save as number variables.py and just save it. Okay, so we have the file called number variables.py. Let's declare a simple variable my int, and let's say give it a value 10, and in the second line just print this variable and save the file, and let's run this. So if you go to the run menu, you click on run, you see we have option to run our hello world program or the number variables program. So just click number variables, and here you can see 10 has been printed on the console, which is the value stored in the variable number variable. Now let's look at floating point numbers. So we can use the same file number variables.py for looking at floating numbers. Let's declare a floating variable and give it a value, let's say 5.0, and just print this my float. And the other way of doing this is you can my float is equal to float and pass 5 and print my float and save it and go to the run menu. You can see we have run number variables. Okay, so you can see we have the same result from the first statement and the second print statement, so you can use both. Now let's look at string variables. So close this file go to file menu, create new Python, and this file to strings, and okay, save it. Okay, close this file. Okay, save it. Strings are either defined with the single quotes or the double quotes. Let's declare a variable called myString and use single quote, print myString, and now use double quotes, hello world, and print myString. Save it and let's run it. Run strings. So you can see we have hello and we have hello world. So the difference between the two is if you are using double quotes, it's easy to use apostrophes and it doesn't break the code. So let's say we have, you can't do this on your own. So we have apostrophe in the sentence, and let's save it and run the code again. So you see we have, you can't do this on your own string that we printed from the myString variable, and it didn't broke the string value. Now let's look at some simple operators that can be used with number variables and string variables. So let's create a new file and name it as simple operators and save it. Let's do a simple operation on number variables. 3 is equal to 1 plus 2, and let's print 3. Save this and run from here, and you can see simple operators. So you can see the value 6. So basically the variable 3 is sum of one variable and two variable, and in one variable we have stored number 1, and in variable 2 we have stored 5. So 1 plus 5 is 6, so 6 got printed. Now let's try simple operator within the same file on string variables. Save the file and let's run it. So you can see we have hello world. So basically what this operator is doing is it's concatenating the two string variables, hello and world variables, and we have added a single space in between these two variables. Next we are going to look at assignments. In Python, number assignments can be done, multiple assignments can be done on the same line. So save as number assignments. Okay, let's close this file, delete this. So let's say we have two variables x and z. We are going to assign two number variables to these number variables. And you can see that pycharm is highlighting this, and there should be space. Format file, edit, convert. Okay, so we can add a space after the comma, and okay, now let's print the value of both these variables, y comma, and save the file and run. Okay, you can see we have 10, 50. So in Python it's possible to assign value variables in single line, multiple variables in single line. One thing I should mention here, and which is very important, is you cannot mix operators between strings and numbers in Python. Okay, let's look at this in detail. So we have number variable 1, we have a number variable 2, and we have a string variable called hello. So let's try to print and concat these three variables at a time and save the code and run the file. Okay, you see Python have thrown an error, and it says unsupported operand type for integer and string. The next concept we are going to look at is lists. Lists are similar to arrays, and they provide a mechanism for storing tuple values or series of numbers within an array or a list. So create a new file in Python and save as. Let's name it as lists. Okay, close this and save the file. So let's declare a list. Now we can add values in this list. Now let's print. Now let's add some values to this list. And print first index, second index, and third index of this list. Now save the file, go to run menu and run list. You can see we have all the three values from the list. We can also perform the same function using a for loop. So let's do that. Now run the program again. So you can see we have 1 5 10 which we printed line by line, and then we have 1 5 10 again which we printed through a for loop. Accessing an index value in the list that doesn't exist will generate an error. So let's experiment with this and add 10 and save and run list. So you see we have index error, list index out of range. Okay, this is all we had for this tutorial video. We will have next videos on Python programming, and we will discuss next topics in Python.